Welcome to the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu channel, where today I want to share my thoughts on who I believe to be the BJJ GOAT. I think that you might be surprised by my pick. Before revealing my pick for the greatest BJJ athlete of all time, I want to first outline the criteria I used to make my selection. To my mind, there are three modalities of Jiu-Jitsu. The first is grappling in the gi. This is where most of us will have started our Jiu-Jitsu journeys, and the foundation upon which the art was built by the Gracie family 100 years ago. The biggest title in gi Jiu-Jitsu is the IBJJF World Championships, and with this in mind, one name consistently rises to the top of the list. Many practitioners, including myself, consider the 10 times world champion Roger Gracie to be the greatest competitor to don a gi. The next modality is no-gi grappling, which has become increasingly popular over the last decade. The pinnacle of no-gi grappling is the Abu Dhabi Combat Club Championships, the ADCC, which many consider to be BJJ's equivalent of the Olympics, since it occurs every 2 years. In this regard, with his 5 ADCC titles and 2 no-gi world gold medals, Gordon Ryan is thought of many to be the greatest no-gi grappler of all time. The third modality of BJJ is that of self-defense. A person's jiu-jitsu might be fantastic in gi or no-gi, but how effective is it under the extreme duress of striking on the feet and on the ground? Self-defense is arguably the most neglected part of jiu-jitsu, and many of the sport elements like open guards and berimbolo backtakes evaporate once striking is added to the mix. In this sense, the ultimate proving ground for Jiu-Jitsu as an effective art for self-defense is mixed martial arts. The Gracies created the Ultimate Fighting Championship as a marketing tool to popularize their brand of grappling in the early 1990s. Royce Gracie's victories in the first UFCs showcased a new method of fighting and changed the face of martial arts forever. Nowadays, being skilled in Jiu-Jitsu is an essential component of becoming a successful mixed martial artist. Taking this into account, it goes without saying that the zenith of MMA is the UFC World Championship belt. And therefore, to my mind, the accolade of the greatest BJJ athlete of all time should belong to an athlete who has conquered all three realms. As far as I'm aware, there is only one athlete who has won world titles in gi, no-gi and in the UFC, and that man is Fabricio Vai Cavallo Werdum. So, where did Werdum's jiu-jitsu journey begin? Legend has it that he started training BJJ after being choked out cold via triangle by the ex-boyfriend of his girlfriend at the time. Keen to ensure that this didn't happen again, Werdum started training in his native Brazil before moving to Spain with his mother. As a purple belt, he started teaching BJJ in Madrid before eventually being awarded his black belt by Master Silvio Bering in 2002. In the gi, Werdum had early success at black belt level, winning the Worlds at Ultra Heavy in 2003 before repeating the feat again in 2004, defeating the legendary Fernando Terrere on points in the final. Soon after, Werdum switched his focus solely to no-gi competition, which better complemented his budding MMA career. Werdum competed in every ADCC between 2003 and 2011. He podiumed in his weight division in his first 2 outings, and in 2005 arguably gave Roger Gracie his toughest match in their absolute quarterfinal, en route to Roger's fabled run to double gold that year. Werdum then won the over 99 kilo golds in 2007 and 2009. I was actually in attendance on day 2 to see Werdum claim his second gold in Barcelona against Roberto Cyborg Abreu, as well as in Nottingham to witness his gnarly armbar attempt against Vinny Magalhães, which to this day is one of the craziest incidents I've seen in live sports. The silver medal he won at ADCC Nottingham in 2011 would be the last time Vai Cavallo competed seriously in pure grappling competition. Werdum's overall black belt competition record stands at 32 wins and 13 losses, and he competed against all of the best grapplers of his era, including Jacare, Saulo Ribeiro, Andre Galvão, and Marcio Pedapano Cruz. However, what made his achievements in submission grappling all the more remarkable was that he was effectively moonlighting as a BJJ competitor. Ever since gaining his black belt, his main focus was MMA. Werdum had his first professional MMA fight in 2002 and compiled an early record of 4 wins and 1 draw in Brazilian promotions before being signed by Pride FC in 2005. He was one of Mirko Cro Cop's training partners at the time, and this was the primary reason for his invite to the juggernaut Japanese promotion. Between 2005 and 2006, Fabricio Werdum fought 6 times in Pride FC, getting his hand raised 4 times and tasting defeat twice. He showcased his elite grappling skills with 3 submission wins, including a Kimura over Alistair Overeem. He fell short against Sergey Haratonov and Antonio Minotauro Nogueira, but demonstrated his toughness in those competitive decision losses. Werdum then briefly ventured to the Netherlands to fight and submit the younger but significantly larger Emelianenko brother Alexander via triangle, before being signed by the UFC in 2007. His first 3 fights under the UFC banner were on events held in the UK. And, interestingly, like ADCC Nottingham, I was also in the crowd at these events, watching his frustrating decision loss to Andrei Arlovski at UFC 70 and his 2 TKO wins thereafter against Gabriel Gonzaga and Brandon Vera at UFC 80 and 85 respectively. I vividly remember Werdum's suffocating mount control over Brandon Vera at UFC 85 in London, and being shocked at how effortlessly he dominated Vera on the mat. It should be noted that by this point, Werdum had trained Muay Thai at Shootbox for many years and was a highly competent striker. However, he would learn a tough lesson in 2008 as overconfidence in his striking ability resulted in his first stoppage loss against a future UFC champion in Junior Dos Santos. This devastating defeat resulted in Werdum being cut from the UFC shortly after. However, Werdum wasn't out of action for long, signing with Strikeforce in 2009. After 2 wins over Mike Kyle and Antonio Bigfoot Silva, he got the call to fight the last emperor, Fedor Emelianenko. For those of you who may not have been following MMA in the noughties, Fedor was considered by many to be the absolute best fighter at the time. Despite being smaller than almost all of his gargantuan opponents, Fedor had vanquished all who stood before him in devastating fashion. The Russian had a mythical aura and seemed unbeatable. In Pride FC, he had out-grappled Nogueira, outstruck Mirko Cro Cop, and was coming off 2 rapid-fire wins against ex-UFC champions in Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovski in the Affliction promotion. Emelianenko had an incredibly well-rounded game, and whilst he appeared somewhat human in his most recent win against Brett Rogers, Fedor entered the contest against Werdum as the overwhelming favourite. This was the fight which put the world on notice with regards to Fabricio Werdum's elite grappling skills. He became the first person to submit Fedor and did so with his signature triangle. After tricking Fedor into believing he was hurt from strikes on the feet, Werdum lulled the last emperor into a false sense of security, enticing the Russian to attack him in his closed guard. From there, Werdum quickly ensnared Fedor in a triangle, eliciting the tap just over 1 minute into the fight. This submission win sent shockwaves around the world and was hailed as a huge victory for the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Whilst Werdum lost a close decision in a rematch versus Overeem in his next fight, this landmark victory secured his invite back to the UFC heavyweight division in 2012. From this point onwards, he grasped this second opportunity in the big league with both hands. Following a 4-fight win streak, which included an armbar victory in a rematch against fellow BJJ black belt Minotauro Nogueira, he earned a shot at the interim title against the Super Samoan Mark Hunt in 2014. Werdum claimed the gold in a slugfest, being forced to utilise his much improved striking skills to finish the hard-hitting Kiwi with a flying knee and follow-up punches. This triumph led to the inevitable title unification with Cain Velasquez the following year in 2015. In a grueling war of attrition at altitude in Mexico City, Werdum eventually prevailed in round 3, cinching up an arm-in guillotine as Velasquez shot for a double-leg takedown. Cavallo had done it. He had summited the UFC heavyweight mountain and claimed the undisputed title, thus becoming the only jiu-jitsu athlete to have won world championships in the gi, no-gi, and now UFC. The ensuing years would not be as kind to Verdum, as he relinquished the title the following year when he was brutally knocked out by future heavyweight GOAT Stipe Miocic. He went 4-3 in the UFC, which included a 2-year suspension for a banned substance before he was released by the organisation following a submission win over former light heavyweight contender Alexander Gustafsson. However, in capturing the UFC World Heavyweight title, in my eyes, he cemented his legacy as the greatest BJJ athlete of all time. I'm sure there will be many who disagree with me on the topic of the greatest BJJ athlete of all time, and I appreciate that for Verdum, his striking prowess was as much of a contributor to his success in MMA as his grappling acumen. But for me, he was able to show the versatility of his grappling in the MMA arena with a strong takedown game, crushing top positional control, elite guard play, and an ability to finish submissions under the most extreme conditions. This for me is what elevates him above all others. And if there is one key objective I have for this video, it is to shine a light on a BJJ legend who I believe is criminally underrated. If nothing else, I would be pleased if I fulfilled this humble deed. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments, as well as who you believe to be the BJJ GOAT. Please like and subscribe, as this really helps the channel, and stay tuned for more content from the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu channel.